on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Motherfucker, he's on his...
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Listener discretion is advised. The show contains graphic language and depictions of violence. It may not be suitable for all audiences.
We say fuck a lot. Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
A little hungover Dylan.
Oh, just a bit.
We are bringing you a chillaxed Memorial Day episode.
Yeah, we hope this podcast finds you relaxing, having a little bit of, quiet time maybe in this tumultuous world.
We had a fun social distancing cookout last night.
We did. Nobody was up. It was nobody was in anybody's face.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody
With
argued
friends.
with friends.
Just a few. And it was good.
It's good eating.
We've been refraining from imbibing as of late.
Yes, we have.
We've had kids at home, and it's just been hard to get into that. Can't really go anywhere.
No, you can't go, have a couple of drinks somewhere, have
I'm
some
a social
quiet
drinker.
time. Yeah.
I don't really like to drink by myself at home.
You don't like to cry into the bottle and drink by yourself?
Not anymore.
Okay.
No, not since I turned 30. I haven't done that much. But, yeah, we just kind of cut loose. And so today we're kind of feeling the effects of that.
Blasé, but I will say I think that's therapeutic at times for a person to do that. But you can't do it a lot.
We have a couple of stories today. As I mentioned, it is a kind of chillaxed episode. So we have a couple of true crime stories for you. I have a local legend, mountain legend we're going to talk about. Are you ready, Dylan? You want to get started with us?
Yeah, I say we just dive straight into it.
We're going to start with this mountain legend, and I think it's pretty fascinating.
I do as well.
James Hatcher was a wealthy, renowned citizen in Pikeville, Kentucky. He had several successful businesses. He worked in the coal mining industry, timber industries. He was a big property owner in the Pikesville area. Now, later in life, he would build the Hotel James Hatcher in Pikeville. That is where the East Kentucky Exposition Center is located presently.
Okay.
The hotel was known for Hatcher's favorite sayings and quotes, which he had printed and placed all on the walls of the hotel.
Oh, okay. Seems a little egotistical. But...
Hatcherisms? No, if we opened a hotel, we could just have Dylanisms everywhere.
Oh, you think so?
I know so.
You think people would connect them to me?
Yes. There was a small museum in one of the main reception areas that had an iron lung on display.
No, I'd like to see that.
And offered guests a sense of security because I guess at this time in the 1800s, hotels caught fire quite a bit.
And so this was like new technology in the building. And so now if it catches fire, it's going to be small and contained easily, or it just won't catch fire. Yeah, that makes sense.
He had also displayed his own casket, which he had crafted years prior to his death, and had that on display.
Now, he sounds like a pretty cool dude to me.
He just had this really extreme phobia of being buried alive.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get to why that is. In 1889, Hatcher was married to a young woman named Octavia Smith. The marriage would be brief and tragic. They only had one son named Jacob, and he died shortly after he was born. This is in the 1890s, and the infant mortality rate was much higher than it is today. During the 1800s, children often died of multiple illnesses before they even reached the age of 10. There were no vaccines, little medications for treatment. I mean, they just didn't know what to do. So a lot of fatalities as far as children go.
It's true. I've noticed in the many cemeteries that me and you've wandered around together that if you get in the older sections or an older cemetery, there are a lot of children's graves that didn't live but a month or two.
When baby Jacob passed away, his mother, Octavia, became really depressed, as you can imagine. I mean, a lot of women suffer from postpartum depression, but imagine losing a child right after it's born.
Yeah, that'd be horrible.
Exactly. So Olivia sank into this deep depression, and from there, it kind of expanded into not just being depressed, but also being ill. And she took to her bed, and she just continued to grow ill over the next few months and eventually slipped into a coma.
Wow.
And she couldn't be awakened from this coma. And on May 2nd, 1891, she was pronounced dead of unknown causes. Now, this spring was unusually hot and temperatures were flaring, and embalming was not yet a common practice, so there was really not a lot that they could do with Olivia's body. And her husband immediately was like, we have to get her into the ground.
So, yeah, well, she's passed. We got to take care of her because she's going to decompose. I mean, it's just it's a logistics.
So the body was laid to rest, and several days after, people began noticing symptoms similar to Octavia's. And we've heard of the tsetse fly.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bite of that fly that caused a sleeping sickness. And people would basically kind of fall into this coma, but then after a while, they would wake up.
Oh, my God.
Right? So Hatcher and his family began to worry if Octavia had gotten bitten by this fly.
Oh, so once she's buried and the rest of the community starts talking more about this sickness, this sleeping sickness, and they start thinking she might have it. Now, could you imagine, like, holy shit, did we bury her while she's alive?
Well, her breathing had been shallow enough in her comatose state for doctors to think she had actually passed away, but she really hadn't passed away. Hatcher got an emergency exhumation and uncovered a horrible sight when he raised her coffin. The casket Olivia had been buried in was not airtight, and at some point she had awoken from her sleep to find herself trapped beneath the ground. Obviously, anyone who would find themselves buried alive like this would freaking panic. And she had torn the lining in the lid of the coffin. Her nails were bloody. Her face was contorted in terror. She had scratched like in a frenzy trying to escape this grave. But by the time they got to her, she was already dead.
Oh, my God. I mean, damn. That's a waking nightmare right there. I mean, God, just you come to and you're in a fucking coffin under the dirt and there's no one to help you.
I'm claustrophobic as fuck, and the thought of this
I would
gives
just die.
me such anxiety.
I know.
Oh, God.
I think
any horror film or any movie where someone's been buried alive,
yes.
I just can't do it.
Even the threat, like you take them up, like in movies when they take them up to the grave and they're threatening to, I mean, just, I think that would go to disturb most any person on the planet. Just the very thought of that. Because it's just, oh my God, on so many levels, it's horrible.
Her body was reburied, but her husband, James Hatcher, was never the same. He had this monument erected over Octavia's grave, and it was like a life-size statue. In one arm, she's holding a baby, which represents their son, Jacob. He built the Hatcher Hotel at such an angle that he could look up at the cemetery, and she could symbolically be like looking down on him.
Oh, wow. Wow, it really disturbed him. He sounds like he really cared for his wife.
The legend was born when the statue was complete. Now, they've had some problems with this. Some vandals invaded the cemetery plot and broke the arm holding the baby from his mother.
What the fuck?
In the 1900s, the Hatcher family erected a fence around the plot, hoping to keep future vandals away. The statue was placed on a new marble base so it could be less accessible. And you can find images of Octavia's statue, and I'll actually post a few of those on social media. Pikeville residents who live near the Hatcher plot began hearing sounds of a kitten crying coming from that area. When they would approach to investigate, they say it would just stop. Others would hear a woman weeping.
Oh, wow.
In the same area. So it's definitely been like a big local legend.
That is wild, and I just don't understand vandals who just break shit for the hell of it. I mean, honestly, not very religious or anything like that, but I would not go in a cemetery and break a statue, let alone the arm holding the baby off of a statue. I mean, what the fuck's wrong with people?
A lot of visitors to the area claim that they will arrive on a clear day and start taking photos of Olivia's statue, and that all of a sudden, like, this mist starts to appear, or when they get the film developed, there's like a mist in front of the statue. It's just not a clear photo.
Even though it should have been?
Right.
Wow.
And one of the most common stories associated with this legend is that on the anniversary of her death, the statue turns away and faces the opposite direction.
The statue actually moves.
According to local legend.
Huh. You know how those stories go, but there's typically usually some seeds of truth and actual things that happen to, grow to legends.
So that's interesting. If you're ever in Pikeville, Kentucky, you can go check out Octavia Hatcher's statue and go visit the Hatcher plot, which is located in the Pikeville Cemetery.
Yeah, they should have. I wonder if this is before or after when they had the habit of putting the little bells with the string down to the casket. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this is because of that sleeping sickness, maybe.
Possibly,
right? Damn, if she would actually use the bell and the string, if she would because she really came alive in her coffin. Jeez, it gives me the damn creeps.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting legend and wanted to share it with you guys. Are you ready to move on to some true crime, Dylan?
Yes, I am.
On December 6, 1949, John Thomas Lutz Sr. and his wife Hazel, along with their 6 children, who were all school-aged and below, they were like little stair steps.
Okay.
They were all gathered in the living room of their Greene County, Tennessee home. It's a really rural area, and they're listening to the radio.
Yeah, that was the big thing to do back then.
They're sitting around enjoying the radio when all of a sudden a gun blast shatters through a window.
Oh my God.
Hitting JT in the head. Bullets strike Hazel in the hand and upper arm and slam into a wall. Now he's killed instantly and she is hospitalized. The killer manages to slip away in the darkness.
Oh my God. Just a damn house full of kids damn freaking out, right?
The couple were about a month shy of their 10th wedding anniversary. He was a sawmill worker at the time of his death, and he had served the country during World War II and was just known as like a good, simple, hardworking family man.
Yeah, he sounds like a good, solid dude, somebody you could count on.
Now, the only possible motive for his murder, was that JT had given the prosecution evidence in a theft case.
Well, that can harbor bad feelings.
He had been warned to keep his mouth shut, but he just wasn't that kind of man. So some people speculate this could have been the motive for murder. Now, according to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, his murder, and that was nearly 70 years ago, remains unsolved.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything with that cold case.
The entire community was shocked. This just didn't happen. This was like a rural community where good, hardworking people just didn't get shot randomly.
Yeah, so they just randomly shot through their window. Obviously a target. I mean, that's not something people do, to unknown people to them. How do you even work that case? If nobody saw anything, there's definitely no kind of forensic evidence back then. I don't know what you do with it.
Well, this gets pretty interesting. So the publisher of the Greenville Sun newspaper and also a journalist named John M. Jones Sr. heard of this murder and made the 10-mile trek over to the crime scene. And what he saw bothered him so much. I mean, he knew enough about crime scenes to know that the local police were contaminating this murder scene and potentially damaging any evidence that could help find the killer.
Well, that's not going to help solve it for sure.
He is not pleased with the way this investigation is being handled, so he calls for the creation of a statewide agency to help solve such cases, especially in these rural areas where the resources just aren't there and the local cops are just not able to perform a proper investigation, mostly due to the resources, and they just haven't been trained. They're not experienced to deal with these things.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people miss that point, resources, because you take a case and you assign 8 or 10 agents or detectives to it and overtime and extra pay, and you have these small towns with set budgets they're trying to hit every year. They quickly don't have the money to properly investigate, let alone with the testing or bringing outside resources, departments in to help. There simply just isn't the money to fund it.
Now, in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, newspapers wielded a lot of influence because that was the